Okay, ladies, I think that we can start. I know there are still
Yeah.
some people are still joining, some people are having struggles. We are helping. So if you are getting stuck, you're welcome to reach out to Salt. We will get in contact with you. So don't despair if you can't get in. Even if you do not manage to get in, we will be sharing a recording after the session on YouTube. We'll share the link on all the social media platforms. So I am just the organizer today, Vanessa Marish from Salt Essential IT. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We're very excited about this BrainFrame session. We've got two fantastic speakers, very knowledgeable in this area. So just as a note of housekeeping, perhaps, you are welcome to use the chat box. So the chat box, you'll see either in the middle of the screen or at the top. Click on chat if you want to talk to us. We will respond to you, or if there are questions you want to pose that we can pose to the speakers, we're happy to facilitate. And the other one is that you can always also, if you're really desperate to say something, the mics can be unmuted. You can, I think it's okay, or do they keep the questions all for the end?
I think, Vanessa, what I found with my session with Viyalu, it's best if we keep the questions for the end. I think
Okay.
we will leave about 10 minutes to do that. So it's just for easier conversation. So you can let us know when we can start talking.
Okay, I think that we've got a good group on. Like I said, I'm going to start the recording right now. So, oh, it started already. Fantastic. So I think over to the two ladies. We are excited to what we're going to be discussing today. So please take it away.
Fabulous. Hello, everybody. My name is Sonja Coetzer. I'm the Managing Director of Salt Essential Information Technology. I'm not in the business of finding people employment. So you would wonder why I'm doing this with Lisa. Over the years, in various positions as a manager or now as the Managing Director, we have got people looking for employment opportunities with Salt. And there's some grave mistakes being made. And I remember from when I was a youngster, I finished matric at the age of 17 and I started looking for jobs, and endless rejections had me so depressed and so sad. And I think for me, it's very important to give back. And so I'll be bringing close on to 32 years of experience, either as an employer, an employee, or a job seeker. So I'd love to welcome my friend Lisa Matomola from High to HR. We've been wanting to collaborate on something this amazing for quite some time. So Lisa, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us, and just introduce yourself to our guests.
Thank you very much, Sonja. Thank you, Vanessa and Salt. My name is Lisa Matomola. I'm an HR consultant and also the managing consultant of. It's actually pronounced Shito, Sonja. So it means people in Japanese, but don't mind. It's. I always want to explain that, and I think that is what makes the company's name fascinating. It gives me an opportunity to come out of my and explain a bit. So I am the managing consultant, and in my part-time job, so I have a full-time job which is day-to-day running, managing Shito, and then in my after hours or on a daily basis, providing tips to job seekers and also coaching. So I'm also the job finder coach. I write tips for the Namibian newspaper, especially on career related. And Sonja and I met on Twitter. So, and we decided we need to also give back. And I always say from my side, it's also when it comes to sharing tips on careers and job searching, I always give myself as an example and say many years back, I used to be one of those job seekers who complained about lack of opportunities, But when I look back now, I actually ask myself, what was I doing apart from complaining of the lack of opportunities? So I am to job seekers what maybe nobody was to me at the time when I was looking for a job. And just being there for job seekers and making job searching less daunting and easy, and maybe here and there responding to questions, especially very, very active on LinkedIn and Twitter as far as job searching is concerned. So thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Thank you. So let's jump into this, right? We see so many people talking about unemployment, talking about how there's no employment opportunities, how they have sent in 20, 30, 60 applications and they're just not landing the job. And I think we have to find some of this, that job hunting should be a job in itself. It's you should approach it as a real job that you're doing, your approach. And I think the first step, Lisa, is always people applying for any job because they're desperate. And I mean, in a country where 48% of our population suffers multidimensional poverty, and we've got such a high unemployment number, it becomes desperate and people make mistakes. So let's talk about it. I mean, job hunting as a job. Normally, I say it should start with job research, where you really start understanding, what job it is you want instead of just shooting from the hip. In your professional opinion here, you're the specialist. Tell us a bit more about that first step, the research.
Thank you, Sonja. And very, very important question to actually open up the conversation or discussion. So normal practice is that when you graduate, I know we also advise people and say, apply for any job and you start from somewhere. But when we say that apply for any job, it doesn't mean that just send out your application to any job. And I always make reference of the City of Windhoek CEO position. I think last year, so they did a bit of data analysis in terms of the applications and they received. And we even had like some of the grade 12 people applying for CEO positions. So when applying for a job, it's very important to apply for jobs where you meet the minimum requirements. And I'll talk about that. Why is that important? So job requirements are set out there for a reason. And I know you mentioned that about 48% everyone wants to be employed. However, if you don't meet the requirements, there is what we call long listing and short listing in the recruitment fraternity. So when recruiters receive your CV, they actually match. It's more of, it's like a teacher in an exam sheet and scoring and say, okay, do you have the minimum requirements? We are asking for a diploma. Do you have the diploma? We tick. Do you have the 3 years of experience? We tick. Is it fishing industry? And that happens. So when applying for jobs where you meet the requirements, you increase your chances of being shortlisted. Every day I receive messages on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and people saying, Lisa, I've been applying for a job, but I'm not shortlisted. And sometimes if my schedule allows, I always send me your CV, send me the latest application that you submitted. And when I check, you find that somebody studied maybe tourism and they're applying for a job at Salt Essentials. And I don't think you hire people that studied tourism. So it's more of aligning your job application with what the company is looking for. So if there are cases where we say maybe the most generic or administrative position that are not really technical, that you can do it without any technical knowledge or requirement, those you can apply. But from also morale, to keep your morale high, getting rejections and or not being invited for interviews, not being actually responded to, because I know we also just not responded times, receiving applications over 1,000. Yesterday I was at a client and they told me 3,000 applications, Lisa, that we receive when we advertise for jobs. So people can't respond to every job application, especially where technology is not in existence. So from your own well-being, because depression comes from rejection, not being informed, no outcomes. When somebody just goes mute on you, you start doubting yourself. You start asking yourself, am I good enough? Did I study the right qualification? That is why we say that you need to apply for jobs where if you can meet 60% of the job requirements. And I know maybe graduates are asking now and say, what if I'm a new graduate and I don't have any experience? You find that there are entry level positions. If it says 2 years experience, those ones perhaps you can apply for the job and say the chances here are I'm likely to be shortlisted. But where your qualifications, your experience are misaligned, unfortunately, the recruiters that are looking at your CV, they have what we call 6 seconds rule. Only 6 seconds, and you're like, okay, you studied IT, why are you applying for a job in agriculture? And we do that. And I read a lot on LinkedIn, people always advising people, just do it. People are going to train you. And maybe from an employer, Sonja, you can take it from there and say, why should we discourage that kind of person when you say, no, just apply, Miss Sonja will train you. Even if you studied engineering, but you're applying for a job in HR, we are going to train you.
Yeah, here's the challenge for companies. We have strategies and we have roadmaps of what we want to do with the company in the next year, next 2 years, 5 years. And according to that, we plan for future needs and positions. Sometimes the position that is available is so critical to the business success that you really do need that experience. And we understand, you're fresh out of school, you can't afford to study, or you're fresh out of university, you don't have the experience, right? These things happen. Then don't apply for that particular job, because now you're putting a huge strain on us. And one of the people went on and said, yeah, this company ghosted me and ghosted this. Guys, this is not about ghosting. Yeah. The amount of CVs we have to go through, the amount of time that goes into this is very extensive. And you cannot wade through 1,000, 2,000 CVs and respond to everyone personally. So never take it personally. It's not about personally. It's about business. We need to understand that this is about business. And we have had in the past where somebody applied for the position, they met 50%, but the one critical area which we clearly stipulated is non-negotiable, they did not have. But because of the CV, the application letter, the email that came in and everything, I was talking to a business friend and he said, I'm looking for somebody in this arena. And the guy immediately came to mind. And I said, hey, I've got a perfect person for you to consider. And Bob's your uncle. Through that reference, they found a job with that company. So don't think because we don't respond, we don't take you into consideration or anything. We are always talking to other people in other industries and other areas, and we pick up where the opportunity is. So if we can see that you are serious about finding a job, that you're serious about your approach, and that you're serious about contributing to a company, the opportunities are beyond the company you're applying to. But you have to understand job seeking or job hunting is a professional approach. It's the first contact a company wants with you. So let's talk about the next thing, Lisa, which I think you've picked up as well as Iyalo has picked up on LinkedIn, more on Twitter. We actually connected the first time as the writing of the CV. I can't explain to people how that CV is your first impression. It's like the cover of a book. It's the jacket. It has the two outsides, the front and the back. It has the inside when you open it. It gives you that appetite. Do I or don't I want to read this book? Am I going to buy it? And that's the CV, Lisa. And I think it's one of those things that is so important in terms of accuracy, in terms of don't say you have analytical skills if you've never worked in an environment where your analytical skills were challenged. So let's talk a bit about the quality of the CV, Lisa, because I know that's one of the things that you look at when you go into coaching mode.
Thank you, Sonja. A CV is a marketing tool. So it's a marketing tool where a job seeker uses it to advertise themselves or to seek for jobs. So it's the first document that you send whereby people don't know you. I know there is a tendency now or a new trend where people put pictures, but in cases where you don't put a picture, all we have to look at is the information that is outlined in your CV, your qualifications, your experience, the skills, competencies, achievements, and so forth. So if that marketing tool is not accurate, it doesn't reflect information about you, or it's missing information. And I mentioned that it's only 6 seconds, 6 seconds to look at a CV and I can't figure it out. I can't check where your email is. You have no telephone number. And I have 3,000 applications to look at, then that means that job seekers actually miss out on such opportunities, because recruiters will not have time to go back and seek or source for information. And I've seen people actually miss out on opportunities because you don't have your phone number, you don't have your email. So the most common or critical elements have to be there. Things like whether or not you have kids, whether or not you are married, whether or not you went to a school in Onanjokwe. Such things, they don't really matter, but your qualifications, where you studied, that matters. The name of the company you worked for, how long you were there, because even when it comes to now counting the years of experience, it must be easier. Say 2015 to 2020, then I'm like, okay, that is 5 years. And already that puts you, because if I'm looking at the 6 seconds, I will know that I will come back to the CV, but already it's on the other batch, or even from a system wise if you are applying online. So it's a tool that has to be accurate, reflect information about the job seeker. I've seen people lie about the titles. So Namibia is very small, and I'm a consultant. I know most of the people in the Namibian organizations. So if you lie on your CV that you are a manager and you are not a manager, recruiters are going to do reference checks on you. And by law, legally, even in the contract, it always says that should you have lied or provided information that is not accurate, obviously not the actual legal terms, but you can be fired. You can be fired from your job because you have submitted information that made you get the job by lying. So I always discourage people from lying. And I know sometimes you say, Lisa, if they are looking for supervisory experience, and not just from maybe employment perspective, we measure things like integrity and ethics during interviews. And when we pick that up, the panel members that are there might be your supervisor. Some of us, we lie that we are sick. And when you get there, already your integrity is being questioned. So ethics, integrity, very, very important when it comes to job seeking. And at times we find, we've seen people in the Namibian market 10 years later down the line, you are actually fired because you even faked your qualification. So it goes as far as that. So very, very important not to discourage anybody, but make sure that your CV is accurate. It's a reflection of you, your qualifications, and your experience. It must not have typos. I mean, if you're going to spell your name incorrectly or even your job title, if we give you this job, imagine the errors that you are going to cause us. And we're not saying it should be perfect, but just double check, especially if somebody does your CV. Even though you pay somebody to, give you a nice template, request for it, review it, and make sure that the information is accurate. Because I've also seen some job seekers, when you submit it to somebody to create it for you, they also, the pressure of work, or even when it comes to saving document, they start mixing up information. Then you have fishing here and then agriculture here, or IT for one person. It doesn't reflect. So it's nice when people do our CVs, but also let's learn to take charge, because you are telling a story about your qualifications, your experience, your responsibilities that you have carried out. And during my coaching sessions, when I ask people, tell me about yourself, they're like, okay, Lisa, let me go back to my CV. That is the one thing. If you are in pitching, it's like, type, your 30-second speech. It must be ready all the time, anytime. If I wake you up, you must be able to tell me about yourself, your qualification. You shouldn't be guessing and say, let me remember. Recruiters will just look at you like, nah, she's not ready.
Exactly. And then I think you started right at the beginning with a picture. Don't do your picture like this. How's it? Or like this. This is a professional photo. It's a professional CV. Yeah. It's not your Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or TikTok profile. It's professional. So keep it professional. So just a bit on this, and this is something that I always recommend to those that reach out to me from time to time and say, what else should I take into consideration? Now, we live in a technology age where a lot of recruiting processes starts with the online hunt. So you need to, put yourself out there on a professional online environment such as LinkedIn, and write that online professional look and feel to who you are. In your view, how relevant or how important is that professional online presence?
I'm getting goosebumps as you ask me that question. And it's 2023, right? And we have seen during COVID, let's just take, for example, COVID, there were no physical submissions because we were limiting contact, and a lot of HR practitioners were actually contracting COVID because of the physical documents, or even if people work with documents. But now when it comes to job searching, we are not just limiting it to Namibia, right? Namibia has opportunities, but the opportunities that are available in Namibia, they are not sufficient. They can't cater for all of us because we have an oversupply. There's saturation in the market. So if I'm on LinkedIn, I can apply for a job anywhere. And you mentioned in the beginning that there are also opportunities now when it comes to remote working, and we'll touch on that in terms of maybe looking at the job searching techniques. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile and you're on this platform, please make sure that immediately after the end of this session, you create a LinkedIn profile. And you're probably asking, what is LinkedIn? LinkedIn is a professional social media page where all the recruiters you want to meet, if you want to meet the MD of Standard Bank, if you want to meet the MD of Salt Essentials, she's on LinkedIn. If you want to meet the HR manager in IT, most of the recruiters they are on LinkedIn. A lot of jobs are advertised on LinkedIn because it's free. When we advertise for jobs in print media, there is a fee that is attached. And also, it's very easy because it's a lot of recruiters now they advertise for jobs on LinkedIn, and you are requested to apply with your LinkedIn profile. So your LinkedIn is your online CV, and it must match your actual CV, whether it's your soft copy or hard copy, but it's your online CV. It must have your qualifications, your experience as well, where you have worked. Also, in terms of a summary of who you are or your experience, more of your career profiles, and if you're a job seeker, the type of jobs that you are looking for. So it is very, very imperative that you have LinkedIn. And even when it comes to if a recruiter or a company says, Lisa, I'm looking for people, the first thing I go is on LinkedIn, because if somebody contacted me and saying they are looking for a job, even when I review people's CVs, I don't review CVs, but if I just want to assist, they can upload it on LinkedIn quickly, immediately, scan it through. So very, very important. It opens opportunities, broadens your horizons, increases your probability as well. When we do reference checks, we go on LinkedIn. We want to check your professional um, um, outlook or presence in the media. So it's very, very important, Sonja. Perhaps you can also add additional information on the importance of the digital profile.
Yeah, so LinkedIn really tells a bit of a story, because often people put references on their CVs, and the reference is an aunt or an uncle or a grandmother or such. On LinkedIn, you can ask people to endorse you, to write a short write-up, and they might say, even if you were at school, you say, at school, I helped run the tuck shop with this person, and we were always well stocked, the cash box always balanced. It was a good experience for me to work with this person in the school tuck shop. So you get a little bit more oomph from that, which you don't get from a CV, which is beautiful. But Lisa, here comes my pet thing when it comes to job seekers, and let's talk about social media. There's a lot of the attitude, it's my Facebook page, it's my Instagram, it's my TikTok, it's my this, and I can do on it whatever I want, because freedom of speech is a right. And I always say freedom of speech is like a driver's license. Once you have it, doesn't mean you can just go on the road and break all the laws and crash the car and cause all sorts of damage. Social media tells us a lot about who you are and your culture. And when I talk about culture, it's your behavioral culture. It will how much will you really fit into the company? How can I see you? That journey that you're upon. If you are rather aggressive and attackful or attacking in nature on social media, I immediately need to say, in a company where we drive and strive for good culture, for a mental, emotional, and physical safe well-being and workplace for our team, how are you going to fit in? It's we all have that glass of champagne or a shooter with our friends, and we place that photo. That is who we are, and we're sharing a great moment with everybody else that couldn't be there. But social media could often trigger a no on a CV, or even before you get to the interview, while you being vetted for interview processing. That social media story, that who you are. In your experience, Lisa, is it only Salt, or every other company doing exactly the same? And what tips do you have for our job seekers?
Thank you, Sonja, for that question. Very, very a question that is very open for debate. I think various thoughts on it. At times we get in trouble for saying or freeing our minds on the topic. But as you are speaking, I remember one of my friends sent me a picture on Twitter whereby one company said, we're not going to hire Lisa because, every Sunday she's posting pictures about, what is the Sunday sessions and all that. So she's likely to miss Monday at work. So it's like some recruiters, they can disadvantage your, there's a bit of biasness in terms of your social life and what you can bring to the workforce. But I think what is very critical, apart from having to travel, going to Swakopmund and all that, which is we all do, it's about what you say on social media. Because when we are hiring, we're also hiring culture fit. Employers have culture, they have values, they have missions, they have clients that they are serving. They have standards in terms of principles. This is who we are. This is what we stand for. This is what we tolerate. Code of conduct, very, very important. So at times I see young people, you just swearing on a daily basis on social media. After you tweet something and say you are swearing, and then the next tweet you are like, unemployment is very high. I'm so depressed. So I'm like, even if I have to refer people for a job, the type of language that you use, the type of discussions you get involved in, I don't discourage people from engaging in discussion. I mean, some conversations are intellectually stimulating, but it's the conduct in terms of the manner, because we start looking and if this person joins our workplace, they are going to terrorize us. We are going to have non-stop conflict, or we always have to do damage control, because what an employee says on social media, we have seen companies going back with their marketing manager or communication manager issuing a statement and say the views expressed by Lisa are not that of Salt Essentials, and we do not stand for that. Now imagine you are in a stakeholder meeting, you're supposed to be signing up investors or your biggest customer, and because of what Lisa said, now you have to do damage control. So that's why companies have social media. And I've seen, interesting enough, even when it comes to things like dating, I know sometimes people will be like, who is dating who? And then it says Lisa Matomola, who works for Shito HR and training consultants. And I'm like, why are you dragging the company? And I'm seeing on LinkedIn right now, people name shaming. You can't be name shaming employers. These are going to be your future employers. So we have views. I'm a consultant. There are times when I have views about certain companies, but I keep it to myself. At times, maybe find a better way to approach it and not just, like you suck at how you treat your employees. So that's why we come in as advisors and make recommendations in terms of taking a different angle. But how you engage on social media, the type of information, because you're exposing yourself and you are a brand. So if you are a brand has to represent itself in a certain way. I often say, if you're a job seeker, if you're walking in a shop, are you going to buy yourself? If I walk in a shop right now, the first cool drink that I think of is a Coke. I know it's not healthy, but it's because of the brand reputation, the visibility, the standards. It's like on a hot day, you drink Coke. If you're eating chips and Russian, you drink Coke. So if I have to hire somebody, I have to align in terms of what am I looking for? What will this person do for me? But if it's those constant issues, then the reference check will not come out nicely. And we know that your social media image might not necessarily be linked to your performance, but it's sidelining you in a way, because people first hire character before they can hire performance.
True, and I think a lot of us that were born in the 70s and 80s, I think, Vanessa, we joke about it quite often. There were no smartphones. If somebody didn't have a proper click camera that you had to take to the photographer to have the film develop, the memory was not there. The moment's not there. There's no accidental video on social media that exposes, because I mean, we all have We all live, we all, well, not we all, but most of us enjoy a good glass of wine, and we enjoy being with our friends and just, have a whale of a time. We all have opinions. I must say, sometimes I see something on social media or in the news or something, and I go like, oh, I've got a lot to say about this. But I am my brand and I represent my brand. So you hold back a little bit, right? So yeah, I think that is very important. Lisa, I think you and I spoke about it when we went for a cup of coffee. Um, now that you're ready to apply for the job, research the company that you're applying to. And here's two reasons. Is you want to know whether you whether the company you're going to apply for actually also speaks to your values, their social responsibility, their videos, their contribution, who they are, what they stand for. That's very important. But most of all is to understand what they do, because a lot of companies on their websites, on their media platforms, they talk about who they are. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, and I really want you to dive into this a bit, is we recently had a position available, and this gentleman, application on point, cover letter, cover email, CV on point, experience on point. The question in the interview was, so what's your approach going to be to broaden our reach into the opportunities and available customer base out there? And he said to me, don't you worry, I'm going to get each and every of your products into the retail shops. And I'm like, okay, but we don't sell things that are sold in retail shops. So why would you want to take us to, all the different kind of salts you sell has got space on a retail shelf? And I'm like, did you research us at all? Do you know what we do? And they said, oh, no, I don't. My immediate thought was, with other words, you didn't do the necessary work to apply for the position, to apply to us. How are you going to treat our customers? What research are you going to do when the customers has got a need that needs fulfilling, So, Lisa, a bit from you on that particular topic.
Wow, Sonja, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart when people don't know who they're applying for. Last year, I remember attending a webinar in Nigeria, and I borrowed from the humor when it comes to job applications and job searching. They actually say you need to treat job searching like the same way we shoot our shots at our girlfriends or boyfriends. If you have a crush on somebody, you know that they gym at Virgin Active, they have their coffee at Slot Town by this time. On Wednesday, they watch football or they do this. Come Friday, they're likely to be reading a book. So we know what the people are doing. We follow them on Twitter. We are so involved. And this is just somebody you like, it's your crush. You're not even dating. You are not a phase where you are dating. So job application, job searching, we are still at a phase where we are like, you know what? I like you, Namdeb. I'm gonna work for you. But this is what you do. You manufacture or you mine diamonds, rough ones. You actually don't refine them. You send them somebody that I must be obsessed. I must know that, okay, this year you are turning 100 years. You recently celebrated your employees and you gave them this and this and this and this. So that is what we call about knowing about a company. So your MD is new, and in December I attended a panel. I was part of a panel for a position we were interviewing for, and this guy came in and he was like, oh, Lisa Matomola, the consultant. And it's not like he knew the panel members, but he he just knew who everyone is. Oh, you're the consultant. I know you don't work here. Went to the CFO and talked about how the CFO is new. She previously worked where. And we were like, homeboy, are you stalking us? But it was impressive. It was impressive in saying he knows his stuff. He knows who is who. And that is what recruiters, because they know that if you're going to work for us, you're going to have so much knowledge about us. You're going to make a difference. And if you're applying for a job, if you know that this company is struggling here, even your pitch when you go for interview, or if it's not interviews, because sometimes you can just approach a company and say, look, I noticed you don't have IT systems, and I am an IT person. I'm a software developer. I want to come in. I've noticed that your website is dormant, and I can run your social media. I can improve your image because you have done research. So research, we don't just do it when we go for interviews. We do it when we are looking for jobs. As I'm a consultant, my job is also, I look for jobs as well, because I have to do work if I don't look for jobs. So I know about companies. I know about Namibian companies. And when a company hires me and say, Lisa, come and present and talk to us, I'm going to talk about emotional intelligence or whatever, but I'll tell them and I say, your team was recently in America. They were talking about, and they get so shocked. It's like, oh my gosh, you know so much about us. And it's because my former director taught me and said, if you work for a company, you need to know about them, read about them, know who they are. Somebody approached me and they say they wanted to do work for me. And it's actually somebody who's qualified, has experience. And then a person starts with the line and say, you know what, Lisa, I'd like to partner up with you. I don't really know what your company does. And already, I'm like, you don't know what my company does and you want to work with me. It was already like, you know what, let's move on. Who is the next person? And okay, not like that, but it just shows that this person is not obsessed. They are not aligned with my values. They don't know what our company offers. The same way, that your girlfriend, your crush, they drive this car, they gym, they like their coffee with no sugar. Know your employers or future employers the same way.
Absolutely. I think that is so crucial. Lisa, I'm going to ask us one more question before we go over to some questions and answers. I saw some questions coming in. As a company, we don't just do one interview. Like you don't just do one date, because more often than not, I mean, irrespective of your age, irrespective of your experience, if this is the job that I really want with everything that I am, one tends to get anxious or nervous, and this is where preparing for the interview comes in. And I know you play a very large role in that particular coaching. So just talk a bit about why should people prepare for an interview? Why should they not just rock up, hang back on the chair and say, how's it? I'm here. I'm going to do this. And then, midway in, the bravado leaves the room and the nerves kicks in, and you could lose your perfect dream job because you didn't prepare for the interview. So let's just give it another 2 or 3 minutes on that, and then I think we can go over to the Q&A session with those on the call with us today. Vanessa, can you perhaps ping Lisa? I think she's frozen.
Ooh, she's frozen. Okay, let me quickly ping her. 1 second. Let her just log off and on again, but I will quickly ping her. So yes, while we're just waiting for Lisa to return to us, probably a bit of an internet wobble. We are seeing the questions in the chat box as well as in the Q&A. So I think after this session, Sonja and Lisa will be answering those questions, starting from the top, which was Samuel James. So we'll definitely be doing that. Let me just quickly get Lisa back online.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everybody that joined us for today. I hope that you're getting real value out of this. It's part of us caring and giving back. We will answer your questions in a short while. I think, Vanessa, while you were getting Lisa back, let me go into the chat and see if there are some of the questions that we can answer while we wait for Lisa.
Sonja, so her
Yeah.
laptop actually froze. So I think maybe if you want to start at the top, maybe answer a question so long. There was a Samuel James just after my chat. You can have it at that one, and then as soon as Lisa joins, then she's going to join via her phone now because the computer completely froze. Then we can tackle the rest.
Perfect. Okay, so Samuel asked us, do employers have reservations even though a prospective candidate met all the requirements? For example, they know whom they want, but since one qualifies, they are just called for formality and compliance. So on that question, Samuel, this depends from company to company. Sometimes you might meet all the requirements, but during an initial or a secondary interview session, the chemistry that's required between the two parties is not necessarily there. Or perhaps what sometimes comes to the table is that, the company you applied for is not really your first choice. And that this is just a pit stop on your way to where you want to go. And companies more often look for employees that says, when I knock on your door, I want to work for you, I want to commit to you, and I want to be part of your organization. So it's not necessarily for formality or compliance. I'm not saying it does not happen. I'm just saying more often than not, the synergies, the chemistry, something is missing or the alignment is not there. And then you ask, what do employers want to hear at an interview when they ask the salary question? That is very difficult. At SALT, we don't start the salary conversation till the very end. Some companies might ask it because they want to know whether you are their perfect candidate. Do they have the budget for you? They want to know, are you open for negotiations? What are your additional requirements? Do you require medical aid? Do you want pension? Do you want a car? All these things, because especially young and upcoming companies or of the older companies, they have got very specific salary grading criterias. And they want to just have that conversation and get a feel for you. So the best is always to be honest and say, this is what I expect. This is the reason why I'm expecting it. You tell me I want to sell $100,000 a month. You got to substantiate why you would want that $100,000 a month. What are you going to bring to me? Because employers aren't looking for guys earning a salary. They're looking for talent. They're looking for tenacity. They're looking for commitment. They're looking for people that's going to help grow and develop the company. So, it varies from company to company. The most important is be sure about the number you're asking. Be sure that you can motivate your worth to that number, and have an open mind. You know, a company might not be able to pay you that 100,000 now. They might be able to pay you 50 or 60,000 or 20 or 30,000. But working with you, developing and growing the company, you know, there can be a lot more behind it for you at the end of the day. Priscilla asked, do we really need to attach a cover letter on our applications? Yes, Priscilla. During the cover letter phase that you have, one of the most important things is it gives you a bit of a time to better position yourself to the particular job you're applying for. CVs are tailored documentation. Your cover letter, that tells me you've done your research. It tells me that why are you interested in the position and what you're going to bring to that position. So yes, please attach a cover letter. It's really, really, really important. From Absalon, how do you approach questions such as, should we hire you at an interview? Absalon, the why should we hire you is to tell us, did you research our company? Did you research the industry that we're in? What value are you going to bring to the table? What contribution are you bringing to the table? How are you going to help us achieve our goals and objectives? So make sure you do that research. With that research, you'd really, you know, be able to deliver better. I see Lisa is back. We'll continue with the questions shortly after. Lisa, hello, my dear. Remember, you're on mute.
But I just quickly had to allow her mic and camera, so she can now unmute herself, and her camera should also work.
Thank you. My sincere apologies. I don't know what happened to my laptop. It just froze and stopped working.
These things happen. Technology. Just at the point of freezing, we said, you know, the preparation for an interview is an integral part of the job hunting and job seeking action. You know, it's so important. And I did a bit of explaining around it, you know, that when we get into the interview rounds, there's particular questions that we ask as companies, because we are looking for particular values and so on. So as this is part of your bread and butter, your services, your passion, give us your 3 minutes on why preparing for interviews are so important.
Thank you, Sonja. And I think before I was kicked out by my laptop, it says that we say that this is going on a date. So when you go on a date, you also look pretty. Either guys go and get a haircut, ladies, they make sure that their nails are done, everything is done. You think of topics, what does this guy like? What am I going to talk about? What will I say? And that is the same thing. When you go for a job interview, you're also going to talk about yourself, because you know, I've seen people and they ask questions. So you're going to talk about yourself, going to talk about the value add as well. And also, you know, it's a conversation. It's a conversation between two people. Another joke says that an interview is a conversation between two liars. The employee and the candidate and the employer, so they all lie to each other, but it must be thoughtful lies. So it's very, very important to prepare for job interviews, because when you go there, you're going to represent yourself. This is now the selling part, the marketing tool. We've marketed yourself, and you have now gotten the opportunities to go and confirm what you have said and what you have mentioned. So it's very, very important to prepare for interviews. And I've seen also sometimes you go for an interview for a certain position, immediately in the interview, people realize that this job is probably too low for you, or there's a more better job that you are best fit for. So an interview is also another way, when it comes to finding other opportunities to actually market yourself and locate other opportunities that are suited for your or best fit for your skills and competencies. So it's very, very important. And just to brand yourself, because there are panel members there that are also recruiting, because people are looking for talent.
Perfect. So thank you very much for that, Lisa. I've answered some questions in your absence. We've got a few more to go. We probably won't get to all the questions. I think between Lisa and myself, we will divvy up the questions we haven't answered and share the responses on our Twitter accounts. I think most of what we do is on Twitter. Vanessa, how are we looking for time? I think we've got about 5 minutes left.
We've got about 4 minutes left, but I also want to just suggest something. If you don't want to post it publicly, although if everyone's all right with it, you can. But we do also have email addresses. So, you can also reach out via email, the ones that the questions, or if they're a bit more complicated or so on, okay?
Yeah, and then guys, when you reach out to us on email, remember that we run companies during the day. So don't expect an email response in 5 minutes. It's not because we're ignoring you. We promise we'll try and get to you as much as possible. So Tavoye asked, is it advisable to share your payslip with a potential employer? Tavoye, I would not make it part of your application. Rather wait till they ask for it. So no, please don't do it up front. Tevin, how does one approach the salary question? Tevin, to be honest with you, if somebody asked me the salary question in the second or third round, where we're still dating each other, it's just if I'd like to use Lisa's analogy here. We're on our third date, and you ask me, "Hey, what's your bank balance like?" Companies know what the salary position will be worth. And if somebody approaches the salary question way too early, the first thing for me is, you're going to be here for the salary, and as soon as the next best salary comes along, you're going to leave, and you're not going to be committed to the company. And with this, I know that a lot of people say, if you want loyalty, get yourself a dog. Guys, that's not a good attitude to have towards the company. I'm not saying all companies are good and fair, and I'm not saying all companies are not good and unfair. But when we work together to a strategy, to a goal, to an objective, to growth, to new avenues, new challenges. So it's really important to not broach that salary question until the prospective employer says to you, okay, it's time for us to talk numbers and package. And then it's a negotiation. It's not a one-way street. You can play open cards. Don't tell me that you've got 4 children and 4 mouths to feed. As rude as this might sound, it's not my problem. And that's how every employer feels about it. Employers are looking for talent, tenacity, commitment, a culture of learning, a culture of contributing, a culture of making a difference, of doing things differently, newly, smartly, to stand out. We live in a highly, highly, highly competitive world. And we're looking for employees, we're looking for team members that will help us stand out from the crowd in the industry we're competing against. So I think that is, Lisa, for me, a very serious one. Then I think we've answered this one before. Just again, does one need to send a cover letter, CV, and other documentations like qualifications in a separate PDF when applying by email, or should one merge it? you know what, as long as your documents are neat and tidy, for us as a company, it can be 4 or 5 attachments. It doesn't necessarily needs to be one attachment, but make sure that the documents you're submitting is neat and well finished. I think, Lisa, that's one of the things you also find is the look and the feel of the CV more than the number of attachments.
Yeah. Sonja, maybe something that I just want to highlight. I don't know if we have additional minutes to our call or will be kicked out. When it comes to job searching, especially the approach, I mentioned today about 60% of jobs are not advertised. Only about 40% are advertised. So why is that so? Recruitment is expensive, and I mentioned it's also time consuming. People want to work with people where they've been referred. So referrals are still very, 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 very a better way of getting a job. And when I say referrals, your friends that are already employed, your family members that are already employed. We have companies, I don't know about Salt, Sonja, where if I refer somebody and they get appointed, I actually get a portion of the salary. So I'm kind of compensated for, assisting the company in terms of recruitment. So employees get an amount. So always ask your friends if, and some jobs are advertised internally. So internally, and people can make referrals. So refer people. Tell your employees the same way we tell people, I'm single, guys. The relationship is over. If your job ended, your contract ended, inform others. Be out there and tell people that you are in the job market. So that's the first one. Second one, you shoot your shot. This is why we need
Lisa, we've lost you.
To recruiters. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now you're
we
back.
lost you at shoot your shots.
Okay, shooting your shot, where we don't have to wait for job applications. I mean, I think back then I used to see Salt job applications. Lately, but they are hiring, they are recruiting, and at the times employers just go to their old CVs that they already have, because they also kind of create database instead of always advertising and then interviews. Either we go back to the people that we have already interviewed and say, hey, there's this new position that is actually vacant. Are you still interested? Are you working? And I do that a lot. Every day, CEOs, managers, they approach me and say, Lisa, I'm looking for somebody. And people are looking for talent. And Sonja explained in terms of what type of talent, qualities, characteristics, and traits employers are looking for. And I'll be like, okay, I actually coach somebody. I believe they are very, very big fit for your company, because also for my coaching, I don't just coach people to get jobs and I leave you there. I also make referrals. One of the employees I actually hired is somebody I coach for a job. But because from the email, Sonja, and I will share that email with you, the first email that she sent me, it was just to book for a coaching session, but I kept reading it. When you read your message over and over again, I kept reading it and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I coached her, and she didn't get that particular job, but I was recruiting in January. I had projects that I needed, and I was like, I'm not gonna go on LinkedIn or go through CVs. And I approached her, and if I call her and she doesn't pick up, she will just say, I'm so sorry, I was busy for getting back to you. And I'll be like, oh wow, we still have job seekers like this. And she's one of my top performers. And I've dedicated my life to actually train her and make her the best consultant that it can be. So when it comes to techniques that we use, let's not just apply for jobs that we see in the newspapers. Everybody applies for those jobs. And Sonja mentioned that it's a full-time job. So you have to dedicate and find techniques and say, where are the jobs? Where do I find them? Who do I find them with? And I think that is the one thing that I actually wanted to highlight and say, don't just limit your job searching to the most advertised positions. Sometimes those ones, they don't even get back to you. They don't even shortlist people. Something changed. But when you find other approaches, people create jobs for you. They will tell you we are not hiring, but the next thing in the meeting, there's a new project, and who do you go back to? the last person that actually contacted you and told you they are looking for jobs. So I can tell a lot of stories, but for the sake of time, I think I'm gonna cut my story there. But I know we have upcoming
I was going to
sessions.
recommend that, Lisa. I can see you love what you do. You and Sonia are really very positive about the subject matter and love to discuss. We've got about
Yeah.
5 questions, I think, still pending. Are we, because we are already 5 minutes over time. So will you be answering those, I think, then personally after the session, or do you want to do one or two more?
I want to
think
do
some
one in
we can.
particular more. One
Okay.
more, Lisa, and then just there's a question from Albertina, face to face or online, which is a brilliant question.
Yeah.
Neither has got drawbacks or advantages or disadvantages. The main thing is, when you go for a face to face, make sure you decently dress. And somebody said to me, "I'm unemployed. How would you like me to do that?" Guys, I'm the managing director of Salt Essential Information Technology, and I have bought some of the most beautiful blouses at Pep and Jet. Just putting it out there,
Yeah.
you don't have to look $1,000,000. Just look neat, look well presented. The other thing I think is with online interviews, guys, don't go sit in the coffee shop. Don't make me repeat a question 25 times. Make sure you've got proper internet. Don't have children and dogs going all over the place. I've got limited time with you and I want you dedicated to me. So online, make sure you've got good internet. Make sure that you're in a quiet space and make sure you can give your attention to me as much as I'm giving my attention to you. With that, I would like to thank our organizers and support team, Vanessa Marish and Grace Kachivena. Ladies, without you, these brain frames never go as smoothly and as awesomely as they should. I love you guys to bit. You do a great job in the background. To everybody that joined us today, thank you so much. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you to listening to us. Lisa, my friends, we need to have that lunch, and I would love for you to give us that 1 minute closing statement, please.
Thank you very much, Sonia, and thank you very much for everybody that tuned in. And I think Sonia mentioned that we don't get paid. Actually, we were supposed to be getting paid in our respective companies for this hour that we have spent with you, but because we love Namibia so much, we.
Lisa,
Mute.
we
Lisa,
lost you.
There's no talent.
Sorry, you need to go to
Can
love.
you hear
We know we. Yeah, we can hear you now. You need to go back to we're doing this for free because we love giving back.
Yeah, we love giving back to Namibia, and we actually, because we see job seekers come in, we realize they have the potential, but they actually just need better ways to increase their chances, and we want to limit the complaints and make it look like, the blaming game. For me, when I see a job seeker complaining, I always say change the complaint to, "Hi, I'm looking for a job. I studied this and this and this." The approach is different, and that way we can share your page and we can click like to increase the number of people, or even recommend you. But now if you come and say the MDs, they don't respond, they're just hiring their relatives, it won't get you a job. But when we give you techniques and you apply them, it's going to increase the chances. But thank you very much, Salt. Thank you, Vanessa, Grace, Sonia, for the platform. And I can't wait for the next one. I'm already, I think my energy is high.
Absolutely, absolutely. So there's a few more questions, guys. We will address them between Lisa and myself online through Twitter. So make sure you follow us, Vanessa. Perhaps we can just put in the chat quickly the 2 handles on Twitter so that the people can follow us and get their answers. If you don't mind,
I can do that. No problem. I will
thank
quickly
you.
put it in the chat. Just bear with me.
And thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. We hope that this helps you get that next step. The sky's the limit. Whenever I hear that, I think, no, it's not, because otherwise we would not be able to reach Mars and Jupiter and the moon and all those places. And guys, don't limit yourself to Namibia. Only these fantastic job opportunities all over the world. There's job opportunities that you can remain in Namibia and do online. So broaden your horizons, broaden your scopes, and we look forward. Keep following us. We will be planning some future sessions, and we'll tell you about it as we go. For that, have a lovely afternoon. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Oddly enough, it doesn't want to take the Twitter handle. Okay, I think what we'll
Okay.
do is we'll yes, it's strange. It's just saying, oh wow. No, but it's displaying on, I can see yours now. Sonja, can you see
Okay, so
yours?
I should. No, I can't see mine, but let me quickly go
to the chat.
fetch it.
No, because when I place it, then it gives me a at everyone link, which is odd. I think it's the at. So let me just remove the at. All right. So I think grab those handles from the chat. You can follow the two ladies. A big thank you again for everybody for attending. I think that based on the response, we've had some forms. We are definitely going to have more sessions like this. So please keep following our social media pages. We'll advertise them there. And we're excited about the good response we got. So I'm going to end the session for today. Have a fantastic Thursday and Friday and weekend ahead. And watch out social media for the links to the recording, which we will be posting on YouTube.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.